After just a few teeny tiny leaks here and there, Spitfire has just released a colossal library called Albion Colossus. This is a gigantic all-in-one toolkit built on scale, depth, and hype. This latest addition to the Albion series features not one, but two orchestras ranging from chamber to symphonic ensembles. It's also going to have 150 articulations across different sections of the orchestra, including high and low strings, brass, winds, guitars, percussion, synths, and drum machines. And the Albion Collection is one of Spitfire's crown jewels of samples. As of right now, there are a total of 6 Albions available: Albion 1, Neo, Uist, Tundra, Solstice, and now Colossus. Over the past week or so, people have been speculating whether or not this is a replacement or a re-release of the now discontinued Albion Iceni. That library was described as the apocalyptic low end of the Albion series, but was taken off the market last year because it didn't fit Spitfire's now modern standards. Now, I don't think that Colossus is a re-release of Iceni. It is fair to say that Iceni had pretty heavy emphasis on low-end monster sounds. However, Colossus is going to be this newer, modern library that's going to meet the standards of epic cinematic music today in 2023. So rather than just being a re-release, this is a much needed updated replacement that will fill in that epic apocalyptic Albion gap that Iceni once did. And before we jump into Albion Colossus, I just want to point out that Spitfire is not sponsoring this video, so any opinions and thoughts are going to be my own. So the original vision behind the Albion series was always to have that 1% of samples that you actually use day to day all in one package. Especially with Albion 1, they gave us a string section, brass, winds, percussion, synths, and then as Albion expanded, each library had its own specific purpose, like here's everything that you need to get this specific sound. Albion 1 is everything you need for scoring film music. Neo is everything you need for smaller, more intimate ensembles. So Colossus is everything you need for ultra-modern, epic, cinematic scores. And after seeing Spitfire's first look video, it really is this extension of Albion 1. Normally, this is going to have a pretty hefty price tag of $449, but because this just came out for a limited time, it's going to have the introductory pricing of $349. But something that's really cool is that if you already own another Albion library, your price is going to go down even further to $289. And the thing that I like about Spitfire is that they offer different libraries that meet different budgets. They have the free labs, $29 originals, and then of course they have their higher ticket products like Albion. So before you do end up chalking up the $290, the $350, $450, ask yourself if your need or want is worth that cost. Because who knows, you might already have a library that meets that criteria. All right, so this is going to be the very first Albion that is not going to run on Contact, but instead utilizes the Spitfire player. And this is something that I actually find a bit frustrating because I personally rely on a lot of multis or RAM purging that you would find in Contact, but with this Spitfire player, that was something that was never incorporated. So let's just hear what this sounds like right out of the box. This is the default patch that loads up. Wow. So right now I'm controlling 3 different faders and knobs with just my mod wheel. To the left, we are going to have our usual faders that we get with Spitfire. So this is your expression, this is your dynamics. But then over to the right, we're going to have 3 new faders: hype, scale, and depth. This hype knob is what makes this library so unique and epic because it's going to push your presets to its limit. So right now I'm only going to control like modulation, so like the timbre of the instrument. Expression. So if we were to then add the hype knob, you can really hear that low end rumble. So it's just going to push and give a ton of emphasis underneath what you're playing. And then if we were to hover over the scale fader, at the bottom left, it says that it adjusts the selection scale by blending between chamber and symphonic orchestra. If I were to link this to the dynamics fader, it now follows what I'm doing with my mod wheel. Oh, that is just so amazing how different it sounds when you push it all the way up. And that scale fader really reminds me of the Spitfire aperture libraries because you can start off with something small and then expand as you push that fader up to something much larger. And then this depth fader is going to be a very interesting take on mic positions. It says adjust the depth of the mix from incredibly close and detailed to very distant and ambient. This fader starts off with your close mics, then you might go to your trees, then you have your ambient mics, and then all the way at the top, you have like your wide outriggers. And I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that fader just yet, because normally I would like to balance out the signals to get a mix that I like. But with this, the closer that you get to the outrigger signal, the farther away you're getting from that close mic. And to be perfectly honest, and I've said this in other videos, but I'm not really a fan of the user interface layout. This is going to be very similar to their originals or other in-house libraries. The color is not my style. I feel like the layout is honestly a bit clunky, and there's just so much extra space that could have been condensed a bit. But with all of that said, I really think that these new features from hype, scale, and depth really are a cool and innovative way to get your music from 0 all the way to 100 and beyond. So in this anthology patch, it is just a combination of different instruments. So this is kind of just like your all-in-one patch that you need, which is really cool, just to get you started even. So we have our horns. Brass crescendo. Ooh. I really do love that sound because Spitfire was never really known for their brass, but here with that extra hype, with that extra added definition and rumble, you really get such power in the brass section, which I don't usually feel like we get from other Albions and other libraries from Spitfire. Right there, that. Oh. All right, and then we have low spiccato strings. Wow, wow, love that. Medium high strings hairpin. Oh, listen to that. That is just, I really love that delicate sound when the depth fader is all the way down and you can really hear the clear definition of those close mics, especially with the high up strings. And then we have pads Danger Beach. Oh my God. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. All right, so let's just keep looking at what else the layout comes with. It looks like that we can edit the different articulations that we want that pop up. Over to the bottom right, you kind of get your settings in a way, your key switch, G-1, activate normal or latch, your round robins, your reset from transport, reset from key, other options, transposition. So you have a few different things. Next, let's just see what kind of presets we get from this. So looking at the drop down menu, this is so different. A lot of my Spitfire libraries are still in contact. So it's so weird to me having such a massive kind of product be utilizing this preset menu. I'm just very used to contact. So that was our combinations preset, but we have low strings, high strings, brass, horns, woodwinds, flutes, piccolos, percussion, drums, guitars, and synths. And you can, of course, kind of filter through everything on the side here, and you can design your own user presets and save them over here. So let's just kind of quickly check out our low strings. So we have long, shorts, hairpins, and then additional longs and shorts. Let's just try it. Longs. Looks like it's about 1.11 gigs of RAM. Oof. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Something that I also wanted to point out was that we have this effects page, so you can toggle between articulations and effects. This hype is the same as this hype. So if you were to move it up and down, it affects it there. Then you have your timing, you have your release, the filter, compressor, and the reverb of the space. Something to keep in mind for this library is that the chamber and symphonic ensembles were both recorded at the Glasgow Royal Concert Hall, so they should share a similar space and a similar sound, and you can control that with the reverb here. And then, of course, we have the legato patch. Oh my gosh, I cannot get used to that. Oh, that is so cool. I was not expecting to enjoy that sound as much as I am. All right, so those are our longs. Let's just hear some maybe like additional shorts. And so it looks like we have just a few extra articulations, you know, Bartok pits, Colenio, stuff like that. So let's just hear. This is going to be a nice and close up sound, quiet, softer chamber ensemble. And then let's just move on to maybe some additional longs for the high strings. We have our flautandos, soltasto, solpanticello, and tremolos. So I'm guessing the regular longs are just going to be long and maybe legato. And tremolo. Ooh. Oh, that gets nice and crisp when you bring it all the way up. Listen to that. Wow. What else do we have? We have high strings, we have brass. I feel like with something that's supposed to be so epic and cinematic, our brass section should be at the top of the list. So let's try shorts. All right, we have staccatissimo, staccato, and marcato. Ooh. That is such a disgusting sound in a really good way, but it's a very ambient sound though. I almost want to bring this down a little bit, maybe use the tree mics. Oh, there it is. Much, much cleaner. All right. This was the size of the ensemble. So if I were to even unlink you, such a small sound. I know that I mentioned, the lack of control over specifically the mic positions, but you have a lot of room to play around with just like the depth and the scale of the orchestra in a way that I honestly never really thought about. You have more possibilities and just wiggle room in a way, just different than what I'm used to, I think. Let me keep that all the way down, and then this is just hype. And then let's switch it the other way, bring that all the way up. See that's with the dynamics all the way up, but no hype. Oh, it's such a beautiful sound. Let's go higher up again. Oh, this is so cool. Oh man, you can play around with this all day, all day. I'm having such a blast just playing through and trying to test out and mess around with all of these different settings and controls. But remember, this is very much catered towards a specific audience. This is very much for the composer looking to write that blockbuster Hollywood, maybe trailer kind of music. But if you don't know how to write that kind of music yourself, I actually want to give you access to my free film composer recipe book. This is a downloadable PDF, perfect for anyone trying to learn how to write for different genres of music. It could be action, horror, fantasy, and it breaks everything down into the 4 foundations or ingredients of music: melody, harmony, rhythm, and orchestration. So if you do want to learn how to write maybe heroic or kind of epic action music, then definitely check that out. I left a link in the description down below. So this loaded up. It seems like everything is about a gig of RAM so far. So if you load up multiple instances, it's going to take up just about a gig or so, maybe 2 gigs each instance. So that is where a purge function would really come in handy. And I just don't think that we have that. That would be really helpful if we could get that in there. Spitfire, if you are listening. All right, so this is going to be our long and legato. So that is such a beautiful sound. And again, I've never been a big fan of the brass from Spitfire, but they really, really are doing a great job with this library. And then legato, just to give it a try. Beautiful low end kind of sound. All right, and so let's move on from our string. Let's move on from brass. And I love that they separate this out from brass and then horns. You know that with any kind of epic trailer, any epic blockbuster, horns are gonna be a massive part. And something else I do wanna point out about this big knob, just while we're here, is it automatically is set to hype, but you can set it to the release, you can set it to the filter, compressor, and the reverb. And these are all the effects that we get in this effects tab. So you don't always have to switch between pages. You can adjust right here. So this is only going to be about 830 megabytes. Horns long. Beautiful horn. And legato. I'm really impressed. I'm really blown away. More than I thought I would be. Something else that I am really appreciative of is just the inclusion of woodwinds. I have said this a few times in other videos, but woodwinds are such a hidden gem that are not so hidden. You know, like they've always been around, they've been there, but for whatever reason, we don't utilize them the way that we could or should. But the winds offer such beautiful texture. Music doesn't just have to be about your ostinato strings in the cellos or just like big brass melodies or harmonies. Like you can do some crazy stuff with the woodwinds. So let's just go for maybe their shorts. All right, and so it's gonna be staccatissimo, staccato, and marcato, just like the other shorts that we saw. Beautiful. Beautiful sound. Staccato. All right, let's try it unlinked, unlinked. Let's hear it very small ensemble. Let's hear close mics, but with the hype all the way up. Such a delicate sound. It's so nice. All right, let's hear that all the way down, but a large ensemble. And then let's hear aggressive dynamics. And of course, increase the. Oh my gosh. That is so cool. And then we have the outriggers. Let's do small ensemble. Wow. Okay. All right. So those are our wins. We got percussion. So we have a few different percussion here: concert, traditional, junkyard, and tune. So this is the concert kit. Super nice. Whoa. Wow. And if you have Albion 1, this is almost reminiscent of just like the percussion there and just like the Easter Island hits, but you almost take it a step further with that hype knob. It really, really gives you just a low end monstrous sound. Let's go to, I guess, traditional. I just want to know what the difference is. Traditional kit and then taikos. So and then taikos. Junkyard is gonna be just another kit. Wow. Awesome. Then we have tuned percussion. And here we get just a few different tuned instruments, Glock, vibraphone, stuff like that. All right, so that is our normal percussion. And then we have drums, guitars, and synths. Oh, what to do, what to do. Let's try altered drum kits. And here we get quite a few different articulations. We even have a second page for this. Basement kit, destroy kit, final kit, future hybrid kit, fuzz room kit, granular glass kit, granular metal kit, shadow kits. Let's go on to the next page. Space wreck kit and the wrath kit. Wow, this is insane how much we actually get in here. Again, this is an Albion library, so it's not surprising how much we get. Oh, that is sick. Oh my gosh. Absolutely disgusting. Oh. Really, really nice. Let's try shadow. And that was just altered. There's also some acoustic ones there. We have guitars, long, shorts, and effects. Let's just start off with long. Ooh. Oh, so cool. Let's try shorts. And then effects. And it looks like we have Marcato Bend, dive bombs, and dead notes. Dive bombs. And dead notes. And synth. So we have bass, drones, keys, leads, and pads. Let's start off with the bass. Oh, man. So that was the bass. Let's try drones. Something that I'm noticing about the synth just in general is like, if we were to compare this to Albion Solstice or Albion 1 or Albion Neo, they had like the eDNA. I feel like there was a lot more in terms of synthesizers with other Albions, or at least where you can really adjust the sound. I don't know if that is something I'm just missing. Like, we have the presets and that's all cool, but it doesn't really seem like I have access to everything I I did in other Albion libraries. With this layout, it just makes it significantly easier for you to just sit down and play. So I guess with this, it's a little bit more give and take and just how you look at this library. But that is something I noticed. Right now we're on Dust Deluxe. All right, summon. Really cool. Let's try keys. Let's try leads. And again, we have an entire page plus an additional one. Let's try Dwayde. Wow, wow, wow. Neck raiser. Oof. Oh my gosh, that is like bone chilling. And pads, let's try that out. ZZYXZ. Let me try that one actually. Incredible. Desolation, definitely. Wow. It's crazy how smooth it gets the closer and farther down you go. It's really a beautiful transition. There's just so much here that you can go through. Although I will say, I feel like the other Albions offer more, but it's different. It really is. And so that's pretty much just like a taste of everything that we get, right? With the combinations, strings, the brass, woodwinds, percussions, drum, guitars, and synth. So really everything that you need for epic sounding music. You know, if you are writing massive cinematic action blockbuster music, then I would say that Colossus is a top contender for you. It really is almost designed to be this extension of Albion 1 because you are getting those standard orchestral sounds, but with the newly added hype and scale and depth features, it's going to push above and beyond the sound of that orchestra. However, is Colossus right for you? I already believe that you don't have to spend a ton of money on sample libraries to make quality music, especially if in a year from now, you've already forgotten about that library altogether. But our reasons for whether or not we need something is going to vary from person to person. So really take the time to reflect on what you need, what's missing from your collection of sounds, and kind of evaluate your own financial situation. Remember, this library is going to cater to a very specific audience looking for a very specific sound. So ultimately, I don't know if you should just rush out and buy Colossus just because it's the new shiny toy from Spitfire. There are definitely going to be some things that are not going to be appealing to its audience. Like that depth feature is going to be really cool for in-action kind of quick writing, but you're also giving up that full control over your mic positions. And you know, I've said this before, but I just do not care for this interface. It's with all of the Spitfire products that use the Spitfire player, I feel like there's just so much empty space that is not being utilized. And then the biggest thing for me with the Spitfire players is that we don't have access to any kind of multi or really any RAM purging feature. So it's definitely going to eat up a lot of your resources fairly quickly, so you got to be mindful about that. And I think that could work with a lot of their smaller libraries, maybe their originals, because they're not so in-depth. But for such a huge library with so many different instruments and sounds, I don't want to have to load in an instance every single time individually. But with all of that said, if you've done your research and you weighed whether or not Colossus is even right for you, and you do decide to go all in on this purchase, I really do think that you can get some immense value out of this library. Because if you set yourself up right before purchasing, you'll know what to expect and how it could potentially fill in any gaps from your samples. Plus, it's just a really fun library to play around with thanks to the scale and the hype and the depth features. We really do get this colossal sound that I don't usually hear from Spitfire that often, and I think it's because this library just offers two separate orchestras. We have the suspenseful, tight chamber ensemble, and then the massive symphonic ensemble to contrast. And then those synths and drums are just so incredibly punchy and in your face and just menacing. So if you really are looking for that all-in-one blockbuster toolkit, then I think Colossal should be at the top of your list. But if you don't see yourself writing for these epic cinematic genres anytime soon, then maybe hold off for a bit and evaluate what you already have. And if you do want to check out another fantastic Albion library or even just some $29 Spitfire originals, then definitely check out my walkthrough videos next. I'll see you over there, and as always, happy composing.